Hi, drawing class. It sounds like from our Zoom meeting that it would be helpful for me to, besides meeting on Zoom, also do some pre-recorded videos of techniques because our Zoom quality, video quality is not really great enough for demonstrating techniques on there. So I thought I would take the list that I gave you in your large-scale color pencil drawing assignment of those other techniques that you could try, including burnishing, scraping, directional lines, scumbling. We talked about those a little bit in class, some of them. Cross-hatching, rubbing alcohol, etc. I thought I would do a little demonstration video of all of those techniques and you can try them at home. You don't have to use all of those techniques in your color pencil drawing, but they are some ways that you can add texture, some different variety of ways. So I am going to turn the camera around so you can see my actual paper, and let's begin. I'm going to start by creating some circles because I think it's just going to be the simplest way to show you different techniques. So this one's going to be some burnishing, which you have sort of already seen because that's what we kind of did on our spheres earlier. And we'll do some scraping in this one. Directional lines, and I'll stop there for now. Alright, so burnishing is like we already practiced, using light layers to build up the wax on the paper until you have a glossy finish without those pencil lines. I may speed up this video so you don't have to watch me do this because the light layers do take time, as we've talked about. So you can see that, oh, where is it? There it is. My paper is fully covered, and I don't know if you can tell, but the wax, the pencil is a smooth layer over the entire paper. There's no, oh my goodness, I can't get it in the frame. There. There's no, oh, see here, we can see the shininess. See that? There's no paper showing underneath that layer, those layers of wax. So it's completely covering the paper, and that means it is burnished when you see that sheen on it. Alright, so that's burnishing. Pretty much what we had done before. Now we are going to do scraping. Scraping, you want to think about what color you want underneath to show through. So I might do one that's going to look a little bit like fur. So I'm going to use some yellows and light browns, and then I'm going to use yellows and light browns underneath and some darker brown and black on top. I could scrape on the one I already did, but I kind of want to keep it the way it is and show you it with these different colors. I'm not going to make it three-dimensional like this one. I'm going to make it pretty flat. I'm pressing a lot harder this time than I did for my layers on this one. And I'm sacrificing some of the even tone that I would get if I was doing light layers. In fact, I might have pressed too hard because I'm not able to cover it up with this. I might have to do this over again. I have an X-Acto blade here, and I'm going to make it look like fur. Only go one direction. If you start going the other way, you're gonna hurt your paper. And try to keep it on the edge of the blade. So those of you doing fur, if you're doing an animal, that will be helpful for you. Getting those that texture. And finally, directional lines. That means you're going in the same direction. You're not going like this, but start on the top and work your way down. Similar to the scraping as far as getting like a fur or hair-like texture. This also would be good for like grass. It's actually kind of hard to do in a small circle. Zero. There we go. Trying to focus it. Alright, so I'm going to do the next three now. The next one I'm going to show you is scumbling, and it's kind of similar to what I did here because I like to go in circular motions when I'm doing my layers, but I'm going to press a little bit darker so you can actually see the circular motion a little bit more. So this is going to be a more textured version of it. You could make it smooth like this by doing very fine layers of scumbling, or you can make it more of a texture. Kind of looks like scribbling. I'm still going to use layers to create 3 dimensions here with the value. I'm not going to be worried about covering all of my paper underneath the way I was with this one, because I want the texture to show through, not be smooth. Alright, that's a pretty quick one. And then we've got cross hatching. Just stick with this. Cross hatching, you can cover an an entire area and make it look flat by using the same distance between your lines back and forth, or you can use it to create value by layering it up, which is what I'm going to do. If I were to just leave the lines going one direction, it's actually called hatching. Obviously, cross hatching is when you do lines that cross each other. Okay, class, so I'm going to try this rubbing alcohol one. I've got my isopropyl alcohol here. I have no idea. I've never done this before, actually, so this will be an experiment, and I guess we'll find out what happens. I have done baby oil with oil pastels to blend, but I have not used rubbing alcohol or baby oil with colored pencils. And they have a wax base rather than an oil base, so I'm just very interested to see how this works. So I'm kind of scumbling this. I'm doing it pretty loose and not worrying about blending my layers too much because I want to see how they blend with the rubbing alcohol. So I've already dipped my Q-tip in rubbing alcohol, and now I'm going over it, and that actually works pretty well. So if you want a quicker way to blend those colors together, instead of taking so much time for all those light layers, you can try this technique of using the rubbing alcohol to blend it. I still see a little bit of my pencil lines, but most of them have gone away, and it looks nice and blended. Alright. And the last one is a watercolor wash. I'm not going to use watercolor on this paper because this is just computer paper and it's too thin to hold a watercolor. It will just get really warped and wrinkled. So I'm going to find some watercolor paper to show you that. Alright, I'm going to do a watercolor wash on this watercolor paper. So I'm starting, if you are new to watercolors, a wash is when you first wet your paper with water, just plain water, and then you paint over that wet area. So I actually, before I started the video, I had created a circle of wet water here, and now I just added a really light layer. I'm going to add a little more paint to my brush to make that a little bigger, but you can see because it's already wet, that's gonna make my paint flow, and it's a really great way to get a lot of paint over a surface in a small amount of time. And also, if you're worried about, if you don't want to have those paint lines, it kind of blends itself really easily. I am going to do a little tiny bit of shading here before I add my color pencil, and I'm also going to, where did my Q-tip go? I'm going to lift some up right here, so, oh, there it is. This is called lifting. You soak up some of the water and therefore paint an area. And so I've got the start of it in paint, and then I'm going to add some crispness to it and some depth to it with the colored pencils. So I forgot to mention that I needed to dry it with the hair dryer first before we can draw on it. But the nice thing about watercolor is it dries really fast, especially if you use a hair dryer to help it along. Alright, so I'm going to add some color on here. I actually don't have a green colored pencil, so green is probably not my wisest choice, but I will add some analogous colors of blue and yellow. Oh, where my green colored pencil went. So you can see what the watercolor wash does is kind of gives you that base tone automatically, so you don't have to layer it up with the colored pencil itself. just love how adding yellow really enriches the color, deepens the color. Alright, so that is kind of the idea behind doing watercolor first and then adding pencil on top of it. I hope you enjoyed this. Here, hold on. Okay class, well I hope you enjoyed this short technique lesson. Again, here is the watercolor wash underneath color pencil. And here is burnishing, scraping, directional lines. We've got the rubbing alcohol to blend, cross hatching, and scumbling. Alright, I can't wait to see what your projects look like, and stay tuned, I might add some more technique videos as the week goes on.